Like
I knew this would, see, they dissed us by putting in here.
Yeah.
Figured, oh, nobody's gonna
They did.
show up.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that the number of people were here.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll be back for this.
I didn't know this was gonna get pulled off.
People totally underestimate. At Aresia, I asked for a panel on Bronies, and they wouldn't give it to me. They wouldn't even reply to me.
Okay, you know what?
And I had, but my sons and I came and they threw a Brony party, and we packed the room.
I didn't hear about this party.
At Aresia? Yeah, posters up.
It was good.
Oh, man. Did I look at
Yeah.
yeah.
The new, not really announced, but Gillian soon to be head of Media Track.
Uh-huh.
It's a Brony.
Yes,
I know that because I was watching My Little Pony this morning.
So,
My household is taking over Aresia.
yes.
That's okay, my household already has a Risha in your time.
Yeah.
May I make a small request for anyone we've managed to see yesterday? There's no spoilers, please.
Okay, that was gonna be our next
Yes,
question,
yeah,
was
yeah.
if there was anybody in the room who hasn't seen it, and if
If
we should
anybody
steer clear.
has seen it and wants to discuss,
What season are we talking about?
Yesterday.
this season.
Yes.
Go.
Yes,
No,
yes.
I'm a year behind.
If anybody has seen it and wants to discuss, please find me after my 2 o'clock panel, and I will totally lead a roundtable discussion in the lobby of people who do not mind spoilers, because we got some stuff to discuss. But we won't do that right now,
Mhm.
because we're avoiding spoilers.
Right, so we will go, first of all, we'll do the usual, this is who I am and this is why I'm here sort of thing. Obviously, Shira has already declared herself, but you care to elaborate.
Hi, I'm Shira Lipkin. I write stuff, and I am here because I am a My Little Pony fan, whether you want to call that a Brony or a Peg sister, or if we can come up with something that's more gender neutral, that's also good. I was the first person in my family to get started on My Little Pony, and my daughter came home from school one day and saw me watching it on my computer, and she's like, what the hell? And I'm like, no, sit down. And then I got my husband into it, and then my boyfriend's brother and I combined got my boyfriend into it. So it's an entire pony household.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. Gillian?
And I'm a Twilight Sparkle.
So you have a stable, is what you're saying, of Brony fans.
I do.
Sorry, there's gonna be a lot of horse puns on this one.
Had to be.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Gillian Daniels. I am into My Little Pony, but I still feel in a lot of ways I'm on the periphery of fandom. Sometimes I like to sort of sit back and observe just what exactly this fandom is, because it's just taken the world by storm, and it's so cool. Anyway, I'm a novice writer. I have a story in Bronies for the Love of Ponies by L. Lambert Lawson, which came out of 2012 out of Cosmic Press. And I left my copy of the book downstairs, so
Whoops.
I'm so prepared. But Cosmic Press, it's awesome. And I write and blog regularly about like theater productions in the area and my opinions on like movies and stuff for a friend, the Analytical Couch Potato. But for Bronies, I don't know, it's just something that I'm terribly interested in, and I'm glad programming decided to go with this panel.
Okay, my name is Justine Graykin. I write speculative fiction, and I've got a book that's going to be coming out later this year that has nothing to do with ponies, but has a lot of fun stuff in it. And I'm totally into the whole optimism and uplifting stuff. And yes, this can be a better world through compassion, and it infuses my work. So when my younger son started watching My Little Pony, he was 14 at the time, he's now 15, and then started turning on, being blatantly a Brony at school, then got his brother into it, and slowly began converting, one at a time, people at the school, mostly through the sort of troll thing where, oh, I'm going to watch it just to make fun of it.
That's how it started.
Yes.
It's
and then when we were house sitting, I said, okay, I really want to find out what this is all about. And they sat me down, and in front of this big large screen TV in this house that we were house sitting for, and called up Netflix and just started playing me ponies. And they did the first one and the second one, and then another one from the first season, and then they did the Discord episodes. And that's what did it. And after that, it was, oh, come on, unfortunately, it's standing room only,
Yeah.
From the
but
If you can get a chair, you're welcome to
registration
sit on it.
area.
Yeah, just drag a chair in here from the hallway somewhere.
You'll be able to
And
hear
you're welcome. Everyone's welcome.
everyone's welcome.
I'm here to love and tolerate you.
Muffin.
Yeah.
Muffin.
Well, actually, it's a mini cupcake, but.
I have this.
Mini cupcake sounds like a good name for a pony.
Okay, all right.
Pinky older sister.
Anyway, as it turned out, after watching the Discord episode, they glanced at each other and they looked at me and said, "Well, Mom?" I said, "Yeah, I get it." And they went, "Yes!" Another one!
And does everyone know about Discord? It's John Delancey, who plays Q in Star Trek Next Generation, playing Q in My Little Pony.
Yes.
It's a different name, it's the same character.
Same powers too. It's really
Discord
Exactly the
weird.
same. He's just
Discord
playing
is essentially Q turned into My Little Pony.
I love the most recent Discord episode with him and Fluttershy. Because Fluttershy's my favorite pony. She's
Okay,
the best.
give him a hand here. Good.
My daughter's a large cat.
Weird.
I highly recommend, and in fact, it was in the documentary, that was exactly how Lauren Foss pitched that episode to Hasbro and Hub, was by saying, they're trying to describe this villain, that they were gonna make this Discord, and they were saying, well, he's sort of a trickster, and he's sort of, he tries to disrupt the harmony and create chaos. He's essentially like, Q from Star Trek. And they said, wow, can we get John Delancey to do the voice? And the rest
He
is
said
history.
yes.
And
Yes.
so they even have him appearing and disappearing in a diamond-shaped flash of light.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Which is so cool.
Which is only one of the massive pop culture references, like you saw the Big Lebowski reference, when the Cutie Mark Crusaders are trying to see if they can get a bowling Cutie Mark. Spoiler, they can't. But they hand these ponies who are the characters from the Big Lebowski.
And the Dr. Who
In pony form.
ponies.
Yes, yes, actually, that leads into that comment I was gonna make about your shirt.
Okay, yes.
Can I ask,
Yes,
how many
about-
people here are Brony identified and how many people here are Brony curious?
Curious. Firmly Brony curious, I guess.
Because I'm here because my son is Brony identified and I'm not inside the culture.
Okay, that's a very good point. Is there anyone else
So
here that's
glad
sort of
that
in
you're
that, like, what the hell is this all about thing? Okay.
What the hell is this all about?
I'm sort of,
You
And
need to
I
Brony
watch-
one of these people.
I watched the show and I've read a bunch of fanfic and I want to know what else is out there.
Okay.
And I've heard there are cons, but I know nothing about them or, what they do.
I also have a question. Are we making a distinction between, are you guys fans only of the current TV show, or were you, since the 80s, have you been into it?
I had an original Twilight Sparkle. Which is awesome.
There was no
Yeah.
original Twilight Sparkle, they made it up for G4.
I had the purple pony that looked a lot like.
Oh,
Star Song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may have Star Song. The thing about your shirt, which is an interesting thing about the fandom specifically, I have never seen a TV show or any other sort of media property that is this in tune with their fan base and this responsive to their fan base. Because that pony's name in the actual script was Vinyl Scratch. But we didn't see that because the pony was never called by name. So the fandom started calling it DJ Pone 3. And at first the hub was insisting, no, the pony's name is Vinyl Scratch. And then they came out with the Equestria Girls promo for season 2, where they clearly identified him. Spike calls her. They clearly identified her as DJ Pone 3, and that was when we knew we had won. Other examples of this include Derby Hoofs,
Oh,
whose
Derby,
official
yes,
name was Ditsy
actually, yeah.
and Dr. Hooves. as somebody mentioned.
Who they can never actually call Dr. Who.
No,
But we all know who she is.
there
Who
is
he
a toy
Yeah.
that is coming out. It's one of the con-exclusive toys, and it says Dr. Who's on the box.
No. How is
It
it
does.
called
It's
time
I
because-
don't know.
It's because
It's
Hasbro
official.
licensed it
Yeah.
to Funko.
His
and
official
they can
name
take
was
the-
Time Turner, so like in all the press releases, it says Dr. Who's Time Turner con-exclusive line.
Okay, yeah.
But
Cool.
This
Some
show
of
is powerful.
It's not exclusive.
It's
they
magic,
sell
like
Funko.
friendship.
oh really? Okay, never mind.
This is what the magic of friendship can do.
But yeah, I love
Yeah.
that there's that level of responsiveness, and that Laura Faust is constantly on Twitter and on DeviantArt talking to the fans.
Yeah. For those of you who do want to learn a little bit more, there is a documentary out there called Bronies, the completely unexpected adult fans of My Little Pony. But if you Google Delancey Bronies documentary, it'll come up.
Yeah.
And it's available out there.
Yeah.
It essentially, John Delancey wanted to put together, he was so enchanted by the whole Brony phenomenon once he really started looking at it, that he wanted to do a documentary. They did a Kickstarter for it. And the response of the Kickstarter was so huge that they ended up doing a much bigger movie than they had anticipated. At first they were only going to follow him to BronyCon. They ended up identifying a lot of different Bronies from all over the world and following how they came out to their parents and to their friends, following them to a convention. And in the process of doing all this, they explain a lot about what Bronies are, why they love the show, why the show is so pivotal to them. One of the characters they follow is a young man with Asperger's syndrome who has trouble relating to people. And he is so intent on getting to a convention that he actually takes the initiative to go out on his own and he's Google Maps and everything, and has to ask directions, and it's really traumatic for him to try to talk to people in order to try to get to the convention. And then once he's there, being immersed in the Brony culture, the acceptance, the tolerance, he describes it as just a pivotal point in his life. It was like, suddenly I'm not uncomfortable around people anymore. And I'm with people who understand me. And that's part of this, is that there's this wonderful sense of acceptance and tolerance that goes with the community. And it is inspiring a lot of kids who feel like they're misfits, and young adults who feel like they're not allowed to have feelings, they have to conform to some sense of what masculinity is that doesn't fit them. There's this, especially since 9/11, they live in this terribly hostile world. And there's something about Equestria and about the Brony culture that is comforting and that reassures them that, no, it doesn't all suck. There are parts of it that are really cool, and there are people out there that are really cool.
We do have to acknowledge, and this might be a good time to acknowledge it, that there are sort of two different Brony cultures.
There is a subset, and I guess we have to go there and put that one to rest before we keep going. I'll let you.
Oh God, we're making meetings.
Would you
I
like to
guess
begin,
you
or-
you opened the
begin.
door. You opened this bag of worms. Now you
But
can.
Gillian proposed the panel, I think, or did she propose the
I
panel?
proposed the panel.
I didn't, so I'm gonna.
All right.
Ooh, look at the hot potato bounce around, right?
I will
Alright.
start with what I feel is one of the roots of this particular strand of the Brony culture, which is, there's a blog, a very good blog about animation called Cartoon Brew. And one of the regular writers is Anita Mead, and he has often very controversial opinions about things, mainly about how terrible animation is today. Wasn't everything better in the 80s? So My Little Ponies is revived, and he's like, everything was creative and original in the 80s, and now Hasbro is just digging up this old thing, and oh my gosh, the creative strand in the industry is dead. Da, 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 da. This post was linked on 4chan, which is is a terribly.
Oh, I know 4chan.
Yeah.
4chan is a very terrible board. Please don't go there. It's full of people who are just
Trolls?
upset, trolling.
It's the birthplace of Anonymous.
Sorry, is it 4chan is the center of the internet?
It's the seamy, no, it's the seamy underbelly of the
Yeah.
internet that everyone knows about. It's the place you don't go after dark.
It's always dark somewhere.
Everything comes from.
Guys,
It's not for the nervous, not for the faint of heart.
True.
And it's a very contrarian culture. And so, of course, when this post is made, a bunch of people decided, okay, let's ironically get into Bronies. Let's be like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Yeah, this sort of worked over time and became beautifully sincere. Now, there's still this strand of very, oh, well, this show is so cute. Let's make it not cute. Shira, would you like to take that?
Okay, so, which part of it do we tackle first? One of the strands of Bronyism is the really, over-exclusive, this is for us and not for you, and we're like, dude, it's for 6-year-old girls. It's good that you like it too. We appreciate that, but don't try to say it's not for them. That's the kind of, capital B Brony that I'm like, you are not really part of our equestria. But there's also what Justine and I were talking about earlier, Rule 34.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what Rule 34? Does everybody know what Rule? Okay, Rule 34 is.
Anything can be turned into porn.
And if it exists on the internet, there's porn of it.
Yeah.
And
There are ponies
This-
being sold on Etsy that have pockets in the butt.
That's the sentence I thought I would never hear come out of anyone's mouth.
I knew you were going to hear it would come from me. So that's like another sort of subset is they call themselves cloppers.
Oh,
This
God.
is the fanfic that I don't read.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have to acknowledge that that's there and that there are the, capital B Bronies that are aggressive about it and defending their territory against the little girls. And that's not really part of our equestria and not really part of what I regard as our fandom.
there's also the parody animations on YouTube, ponies.mov by hotdiggitydemon.com, I think. Yeah. And he's an animator and he tends to do sort of very more violent and parody humor which you've seen partially on Family Guy if you've ever seen an episode. And he does parodies of the My Little Pony episodes, and the characters acting very out of character, like killing each other, and doing stuff like that. And if you're into that, that's fine. But this was originally a show for 6-year-old girls, so you have to be responsible in what places you let that part of the Brony culture stray.
Yeah, and it is indeed something that I'm going to even say the vast majority of Bronies would want to distance themselves from. It's like, and just by the nature of what Brony philosophy is, that of being very tolerant. We all know cloppers are out there. We all know the people who do the violent fanfic and the very twisted fanfic are out there. It's okay. Do your thing in your corner of the internet, and leave us alone. Right? Yeah. Just we're not going to diss you, but on the other hand, we also don't want to associate with you because that's not why we're here.
That's tolerance, though. You can't go in and change people's minds about things they care about very strongly. What you can do is say, well, you exist, and I will acknowledge you exist, and I will not fall into a violent rhetoric with you.
So that's some of the reasons that we're not here, but some of the reasons we are here are like feminism and Sondheim pastiches. And let's get away from the dark side of stuff.
Those two
And
don't
let's talk
belong in
about
the same sentence.
No, but they do with My Little Pony. They've done a
amazing.
couple of songs so far that are direct, deliberate Sondheim pastiches. And Adam will sort of look up from his computer, because my husband is way into musical theater, and he'll be like, and then he'll drag dig up the original music that they're inspired by and show it for us. But the feminism aspect of it, I love, because one of the themes of My Little Pony is that there's so many different ways to be a girl.
Yes.
And they have characters like Verity, who is ultra femme, and they have Rainbow Dash, and Rainbow Dash is like the opposite of ultra femme. And both of these characters are really, really valuable to their group of friends and to Ponyville and to Equestria as a whole. and everybody in between. I had mentioned earlier, elsewhere, that one of the things that I like about the episode with Rarity and the Diamond Dogs is that it's an entire episode where the moral is that being very femme and very gentle is not a place of weakness. And we saw that again with the more recent Discord episode where we have, meek, gentle, Fluttershy, completely overhauling Discord in her own way, not having to do something else or something aggressive or something that isn't her in order to do
by
it.
her own rules, using her own
Whoever you
strengths.
are is good and is okay and is a strong position.
Right.
A friend of mine wrote a blog post about this for Analytical Couch Potato, .org, which we all, a group of friends and I all write for. And his theory was one of the reasons that My Little Pony is such a feminist show is because the default gender is not male, it is female. And it's not just you have a tomboy character and then you have a femme character and then the rest are boys.
Yeah.
It's you have a tomboy character like Rainbow Dash and a tomboy character like Applejack.
Yes.
They're both tomboys. It's okay to not follow traditional feminine ways in both of these directions.
Yeah, and they're very different. I mean, Applejack is just very hardworking and very down to earth, whereas
She's very
Rainbow
kind.
Dash
Not much
is
aggressive.
aggressive and
Yeah.
competitive, and which by the way, Rainbow Dash has become a mascot of a lot of military bronies. They are now wearing rainbow patches on their gear and getting in big trouble for it.
I love
And
the
it's
very-
and a lot of prayer birdies.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's been it's become
A lot of queer birdies.
Yeah.
It's become a real interesting thing in the military. And I read a couple of articles about how the military and how soldiers are dealing with the fact that they really want to be bronies and yet they're very scared of the culture that they're in and how it will react to it.
My son's at a military academy.
There you go, yeah.
Everything's making sense now, isn't it?
Yeah, but the appeal of Rainbow Dash is because she's very daring, she's very strong. She's a Pegasus, which means she has wings and flies, and it's not like just wee. I mean, she rockets.
She breaks
She
speed
breaks speed records.
Yeah.
She breaks the sonic barrier.
My favorite episode is Sonic Rainbow.
That was a great episode.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So that is why the appeal is to a lot of the especially flyers, pilots in the military and the Air Force have
Dash is their mascot.
they've even they sneaked little rainbow dashes onto their plane,
I
We
love
have just
that.
become 20%
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Another thing that I love, Hasbro of course insisted that at least one of the ponies be fashion obsessed because that way they can sell more stuff.
Yeah.
When you're creating a show based on the toy lines, you have to
girls.
listen. So Laura Faust was like, okay, all right, we'll have ponies into fashion, but she's a fashion designer and an entrepreneur. She runs her own shop. So you have, and all of the ponies, I love this, all the ponies have jobs, which you don't see that much on kids' shows, but everybody actually has a job. That is well suited.
When there's not a lot of focus on getting a male love interest, which I think is a really healthy thing for a shows aimed at girls. I feel also like because of the problems they face as a group of friends, like, oh, I only have 2 tickets to the ball and I have all these friends I can invite, but how do I do this without hurting feelings? You're preparing a lot of these young 6, 7, 10-year-old girls for middle school. You're showing them, okay, you don't have to be in this violent group of, you don't have to be snarky at each other the way something like Mean Girls mimics. You can get along and have different opinions and be an individual in a community.
Are there any particular questions or concerns, especially among the people who are new to this? Is there anything in particular you'd like us to talk about, or?
Yes, the name.
Bronies. It's sort of like brothers
Who like ponies.
who like ponies. So that's where that comes
It was
from.
started by guys, basically.
Yeah.
Bro is a term that's been going around for the 10 years for, it's basically a replacement for Guy.
Mhm.
Or dude.
Grows.
And,
like
Hey, bro.
Mhm.
And the female version is Pegasister, which is in, more occasional use.
It's very weird to hear female fans refer to themselves as female bronies. I'm like, this is,
Yeah,
but like that, like again, that the male gender is the default, which is a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
uncomfortable for me. But
well,
Just not quite as
a lot of
Michelle.
the,
Yeah.
a lot of the female bronies just, I'm a brony.
Yeah.
It's just, they don't even go there. They don't even let it be gendered. They just reject the gendering of it. Yes.
Well, my full knowledge of My Little Pony was like the commercials that come out every year at Christmas. And yesterday, somebody down in the dealers area mentioned that, there's this group of, and I was told specifically young men who were fascinated by the show. How long has the show been on?
This is
Third
third
season.
Third season?
Yeah.
it starts
Well,
usually.
it's on Netflix.
Like there's episodes from the 80s and really weird movies.
Yeah, that's really not the
That's
same style or
It's not the
approach.
same thing. What made this particular generation, and if you watch the documentary, they touch on this.
Right.
There's another documentary which was put out by, no. God, no, it was put out by a Brony, and I'm spacing on who it was. I can't remember his username. But who actually analyzed the different generations and when they came out and how they were different. And it was essentially, do you know the one I'm talking about?
I believe it's from that guy with elastic.com, and then I believe that's Mom's Girl, what's her name?
Really?
Yeah.
No, it was a guy who, the one I'm thinking of, now Mark's got a name.
She also did something like that.
Okay, but it was strictly to sell toys, and there wasn't any real creative effort into it. It was minimal, especially.
I would strongly disagree with that. I mean, that's
It
most
varies.
offensive to me because.
It varies from, some were worse than others. Some were blatantly empty,
Well,
but.
yeah,
There's a lot of
the demographic
babies.
was much younger. In the G3, they were aiming at not creepy. They were aiming at like 4-year-olds.
Well,
So yeah, it was very simple plots.
Of course, but the thing was, when Lauren Foss took it over, she dared to do something much more complicated. They had a much higher bar for the animation, a much higher bar for the music, much more sophisticated. They started making references. You know how Looney Tunes used to do that or would do that? They'd have these very adult references that only it's the nod in the wink. Well, yeah, I mean, the Benny Hill theme creeps in at one point,
There was a commercial that I was telling you about today.
Yes, yeah.
Very clearly aiming for the bronies instead of for the actual, 6-year-old fans. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but then
Right
from the start, they were
Can you make a face as crazy as this? Is that what you're talking about?
No. The commercial it was for the series in general, but it was modeled after the most interesting man in the world beer commercials. Right down to enjoy friendship's magic responsibly. And Pinkie Pie is doing the accent, and she's lounging in the saloon girl out. She's like, I don't always watch television, but when I do. This is not for the 6-year-olds. This is for the adult fans.
This is for the adult fans.
Yeah.
That's Dusty. Dos Equis commercials.
I might get a TP just because of that. I just watched that.
I'm sure it's on YouTube by now.
Yes.
Oh, you're the young lady there.
Okay, no, you're right. Hang on, hold on. You have had your hand up.
There's also another thing on the internet, it's called Friendship is Witchcraft, and
Yes.
it's like a parody, and it's really funny, so I like watching it too, so.
I haven't seen
Yes,
that.
that is.
I haven't even heard of that.
It's like overdone, it's like they take clips from the show and they put a whole different dialogue on it, that puts a whole different spin on it. But it's good fun. It is, it's
And
really
they
fun.
put a few episodes out. Yeah, they really ran with that.
They cranked them out.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning that. There's all kinds of fan stuff out there that's hysterical. Okay, we'll come back to that.
Yeah, I just sort of pitch this in because, I've been in fandom since, my first Boskone was 1975. Okay, so I've been in fandom forever. My son is 20. He's part of a homeschooling circle in Boston fandom. They've been Brony identified for years. And I sort of looked at this and went, okay, whatever, because I don't know that these aren't repeats on Cartoon Network of the stuff from the 80s, which frankly, when I was, going through the 80s, I looked at and said, oh my God, what mercantile dreck to sell little plastic ponies
That was like
to
all of the
little
cartoons in the 80s.
girls.
Yeah.
but
Because the stuff in the 80s was crap.
Because you couldn't have cartoon commercials for toys, they had to sell them through the TV shows.
That's legitimately why.
Yeah, no,
That's-
I mean, I used to work I actually used to literally work in entertainment licensing. Okay, so I used to work with, like, literally with the licensed, with Lima companies, who are the license industry manufacturing association, who make these toys and have the licensing show in Las Vegas every year and all this kind of stuff. So I know that industry like more intimately than you ever want to know about that industry.
Yeah.
So I'm like sitting here going, what the fuck?
It
You
grew
know?
up.
Yeah.
But you've got to understand that most people who are on the outside of this culture have no idea that there's a new series even going on.
Yeah.
And they are looking at this culture as sitting there going,
Yeah.
How can you watch the crowd?
how can you watch this stuff and
some
develop
of it
a
is-
cult around it?
Yeah, some of it is, and as Shelley pointed out, not all of it is utter crap. Some of it does have some redeeming value. I don't think it comes close to what the current generation is. But you're right. There were moments, and there were things that were.
It was
but
taking a lot of risks in the things that female characters could do. Yeah, and then there were a lot of villains they were fighting. They were very scary villains, and
so it's
Yeah, that's the angle I usually hear defended at, that, in which My Little Pony fight the devil.
yes, yeah, they fought the devil.
There's also
They fought a shadow stealer.
mythology references.
Me too. No, there's so,
Yeah.
there's a lot of layers here. They are really trying.
to teach you.
Especially in the 80s, which though, maybe it was before its time.
There's a lot of mythology here. They really brought in as much legend stuff as they can.
And this is what got my guys into it, because they're like, wait, with the tickets to the gala, my husband's like, did they just throw in the apple of discord? Well, this an reference? And then there was, there's the Manticore, and there's the Hydra, and all of the really classical mythology references. That's what got my guys really into it, because they were playing with actual mythology.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Whereas the 80s, they're just like, oh, Pegasus, girls like Pegasus. Oh, unicorn, throw that in. Ponies, throw that in.
Yeah.
Whereas now they're sort of,
They're really
Decompress it.
trying to develop it. They're trying to give some depth to it. And the characters themselves have an awful lot of depth.
Yeah.
They're not perfect, they're not cardboard cutouts. They have particular strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes they do boneheaded things and they get in trouble for it, and then they have to figure it out. So there's a complexity to it that you don't get with your average cartoon character.
It took me watching 3 episodes to sit there and say, basically, wait a minute, this is like Genndy Tartakovsky stuff. This is not 1980s animation.
Lauren Foster did work on Powerpuff Girls.
Yes, no, I mean, I actually went in and went, what's going on? Yeah, this is not the stuff this is not the same even style of animation.
Right.
Because it took me watching 2 things of two episodes before I sat there and said, they weren't even doing this style of animation in the 80s.
Yeah.
And all this kind of stuff. But, most people don't even know this when
Yeah,
they're judging
yeah.
this from the outside.
Yeah, definitely. You got your hand up.
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to jump off the getting in trouble and doing one-headed things. They don't have, the authority figures in children's television are usually parent figures or teacher figures. And you have the mentor figure of Celestia, but you don't have parents jumping in and giving the moral lesson and saying, no, you must do it this way, and you don't have disobeying an immediate rule. You have, oh man, I really screwed up, and now I have to figure it out. And I think that's a valuable lesson for the target demographic, but also for people to remember it's not all about like getting ahead in the rat race and like following the code. It's like, oh, I really screwed up and these are actual consequences.
This
It's
is what
not
happens, my
artificial.
friends get
Yeah,
hurt,
right.
people get upset, and now I have to fix it.
Right.
It's about
Yeah.
finding a solution that works for you
Yeah,
as a pony.
yeah.
Because what works for Mary
And that
is
helps
not going to
everyone
work
else,
for
Right.
Michelle.
and brings harmony in things.
Okay, yes, you can jump in.
Well,
So,
but I had a question that was going to follow
Well,
on.
we just called on someone else, I'm afraid.
Well,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah, hang on, I'll get back to you, you had a couple chances to
I had a
talk,
question
so-
though,
Okay,
that followed on.
all right, I'll get right back to you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, a more general question. Can you talk a little bit about sort of real-world fan act in the Brony community? I understand there are conventions. I basically know nothing about them. You know, are there meetups? Are there like what do Bronies do offline? Basically, my entire experience of the culture so far has been reading fan fiction.
If you go to Equestria Daily, which is a wonderful website for social networking among Bronies, there is usually links and news about where meetups are happening, how to find out about meetups, when conventions are happening. They had, and now I'm gonna have to struggle to remember, the one on the West Coast was called Everfree, and that happened in Seattle. And then they've had one BronyCon happens on the East Coast. And they're multiplying. The first BronyCon had like 500 people, the last one had almost 5,000. And now they're just starting to take place all over the world. In the documentary I told you about, it talks about some of the other meetups that they have and conventions in Germany, in Stuttgart, in Manchester, England, where people are getting together and finding each other. So that's what I'd recommend. First of all, check out the documentary in order to just get a feel for what the conventions are like, and then follow Equestria Daily to find out when they're happening, and you know where you can find one that's reasonably close to you. There's probably other ways that you can find out about the meetups. I'm not
They
real.
might have stuff on meetup.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Something like
Just
that.
type in Brony, see what shows up.
Yeah,
No, don't
yeah.
do that.
But yeah.
She's saying just type in Brony, see what shows up. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Get more specific with your search string.
Have the filters on.
Right. Okay, let's go back to the question that you had.
Right, if you don't want to get dissed and put in the smallest function room, how are you going to do outreach to the rest of fandom and the rest of society at large to explain what the fandom's about more effectively?
Believe me, it wasn't my choice to get stuffed in here.
Right, but
Boskone
you
didn't
need,
want this panel to happen.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
so how are you doing the outreach and handling that?
A little bit at a time. We have several people in the room here who are going to leave knowing a little bit more about Bronies than they did before. Just talking to people, the first panel that I had was with one of the organizers, and I got briefed a bit about it. But the thing was, there were also a couple people in the audience, and they said, "Wait, you're a Brony?" And I said, "Yes, I am. And if you'd like to know why, I'd be happy to tell you about it." It's like any other group. The more high profile you are and the more unashamed you are to talk about it. My son's, this is actually my son's t-shirt. I borrowed it from him for the convention. My other son has one too that he wears to high school all the time.
And he washes it.
What?
Does he wash it?
Well,
She get him a couple of the same t-shirts. Also, Justine, did you know that there's a campaign to get My Little Pony nominated for the Hugos?
no. I did not know that.
Okay.
I did not.
I
know
would
that.
vote for that.
So, where Rainbow Dash falls in love with reading. I don't remember the name of the episode, but if you Google Nick Mamatas and My Little Pony, which otherwise I would tell you never to do, but in this case you should, because the Hugo Best Short Dramatic Presentation is usually here are the 4 Doctor Who episodes and something else. And we all love Doctor Who, I'm assuming, but My Little Pony is freaking awesome, and Nick is running a campaign. and a couple of other people like Ekaterina Sidia are chiming in to try to get this episode
Cool.
nominated for the
Cool.
fandoms.
Good.
That would be a good way to do it, because
Yeah.
people will talk about it.
Exactly.
Yes.
People
Even
want
if
to
they
know
don't
watch it to
vote
find
for
out what
it.
it's about.
Yeah.
Another recommendation I have for getting more panels like this, email the programming staff.
Yes.
Show there's a demand, because
Yeah.
when you're on programming staff, sometimes the older members may be like, no, I don't understand what this is. If you show there's a demand.
Yeah.
Because that's the way, things like anime ended up filtering up up into the gene
Anime used to
pool.
be the dirty secret.
Right.
Yeah.
So it still is.
And
Okay, you had a
Phil
question.
is still the dirty secret.
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of going off on that. Sometimes you get help at promoting something in from very strange directions. Like, does anybody listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me?
Yeah.
And they had Bill Clinton on as the guest, and they asked him about My Little Pony because they figured it was something he didn't know anything about. And he didn't. But it meant they had to talk about it. And that meant the next week they went, so we got some flack for apparently we were making fun of it, and apparently we can't do that because people get angry. They still made fun of it the next week because it's Wait, Don't Tell Me, and nothing is sacred. But it was still 2 weeks in a row where my mom called me up and she was, that's that thing, isn't it, that you watch? And I said, yes. And she goes, they asked Bill Clinton about My Little Pony? Really? And I went, Mom, geeks are taking over. What do you want from me?
My favorite question from that Wait, Don't Tell Me though,
Who's
was
the villain? I love the Who's the Villain one.
that too, the Who's the Villain one, but also what absolutely cracked my entire household up for like weeks afterwards was when they asked what the cutie mark means. When you get the cutie mark, does it mean, A, B, C, and one of them was that they have the right to mate.
Oh, my.
And we lost it.
And you can hear
Getting
Bill
into that area again.
You can hear Bill Clinton just going, what? I'm on NPR, aren't I?
From a more sincere interpretation, the idea of girls working to get the cutie mark to show that they're adults, I don't know, I feel like that does sort of feed into what adulthood means, and that is like a sincere part of the show, which I find very interesting.
The whole plot arc of Cutie Mark Crusaders.
I know one of the things that I do is each episode has like a moral to the story. They learn this about friendship. They learn this about there was this episode where Pinky decides that she wants to go have fun with everybody and doesn't want to ever be left out.
Is this the clone one?
Yes.
So she goes and clones herself over and over and over again.
Science fiction, y'all.
And one of my friends was talking about, oh, I missed that. There's so much fun stuff going on, and I need to clone myself. And I said, no, you need to go watch that My Little Pony episode. And there are a couple things. And, the Rainbow Dash and the getting excited about reading, that one is one of my favorites because you have this tomboy who doesn't want to read and doesn't want to be involved in, and literature is so important. And look, there's this story that is really exciting that she gets so involved in that she sneaks back into the hospital.
Yeah, she left the book in the hospital and she snuck back into the hospital at night to finish the book. Which she didn't have to do because one of her best friends lives in the library, but...
She didn't want anyone to know.
Yeah, she didn't want anyone to know.
I can't blame her, Sometimes your guilty secret is actually okay, but you have to come to terms with it.
Regarding getting more awareness and respect in the rest of fandom, I think the ultimate people to talk to, not necessarily that they succeeded, are furries.
I knew you were going there with
Ooh.
that.
Well, just for advice about what it's like to be a,
To get that look,
to be a misunderstood subculture within fandom. And I think they seem to have settled on secession as a solution, which hopefully Bronies don't have to do.
Just for the benefit of anybody who might not know what you mean by a furry, would you just quickly?
Boy, thank you. It's more a question of it's hard to define exactly what a furry is in a broader sense. Fans of anthropomorphic animals and art and media, and quite frequently they costume, and there's a giant and extremely complicated subculture around it, and nowadays they mostly just do their own conventions.
Don't forget the other can.
Which is what I meant by secession.
That's
Yeah.
because, you know, they got so much flack for being into this thing that that not a lot of people understood. And I'm not into furries, but I am sympathetic toward the idea of, well, in nerd culture, you're supposed to have that place where you can go and like the things that aren't traditionally you're supposed to like.
So if you want to talk strategy with
Talk to the furries.
with someone who's been through this before, then yeah, I want to talk to them and see if there's anything they should.
I bet some of them are bronies.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, there's a lot of
Some of them
crossover.
don't like the bronies. They're all like, well, I don't understand that.
Really?
Yeah, I
It's done differently in 1995 or something.
Okay, wait, a woman in the back there.
Well, I just wanted to follow up on that. I'm curious. But like, you know, I probably would have just been satisfied Googling it the way I was with the furries. You know, what is this? I found the Wikipedia page, I read it, and then I was done. The thing that really inspired me to come to this was the fact that there's underlying emphasis on things like kindness and compassion and acceptance. I don't think there are any of those themes in like furry culture, for example, that, you know, are pervasive in addition to the aesthetic. And if
That's
there's
true.
something I think, you know, the Brony community has that could appeal to the larger masses, it are these concepts.
That's true, they've raised an amazing amount of money, because a lot of these are young professional men who have a good income, and they have donated huge amounts of money to various good causes. There was a thing on Reddit at one point where they sort of had a lighthearted competition going with the Airbenders subreddit. And they said, okay, let's see which one of us can raise the most money for Doctors Without Borders.
Awesome.
And the Bronies trounced the Airbenders. It was like by a magnitude of 10 what they were able to
trampled
raise.
I was also a fan of The Last Airbender, or Avatar: The Last Airbender, not the movie that didn't happen. I can see why.
Regarding that, this is called the Heartwarming Care Package, and it's something that various fanfic people put together. It's 145 pages of short stories, along with, I assume, a bunch of money they collected for a particular 6-year-old girl with brain cancer.
Yeah, they do. There's a lot of causes
It's got,
like that.
Someone did a fully hand-illustrated Pinkie Pie picture.
Oh, cool! Oh, that is neat.
One thing we might do in fandom then, I'm just thinking of ways to combine like that urge plus being at conventions specifically. Things like the backup project and things like that that involve, I have a badge on, or I have a pin on my badge that says I can be approached about X topic, or I could be helpful in X way.
Yeah.
Do it with ponies. Like basically, like, you know, bring that in.
Put your pony pin on your
Right,
badge
exactly.
or whatever. Yeah.
And that means like, if somebody's being mean to you and you need a hug, you can find someone with,
Good
you know,
one. Yes.
with a Pinkie
Yes.
Pie, and if you're having a bad day, go find a Pinkie Pie, and she's gonna
I'll give you a hug.
Right, I'll give you a hug and a balloon, and I'll make you feel better, and have a piece of chocolate. You're really awesome, and we think you're great, and we're glad you're here.
My boyfriend can probably build me a party cannon. And the people clapping are the ones who get my boyfriend.
Oh my God, you people need a pony hanky code.
And like, you know, my outfit just fell apart, and I'm feeling really horrible. Where is it?
Party cannon! Yeah.
But we can make it happen, because there are a lot of people that can do that. And at conventions, that's a great way to boost positive energy, because it's like, oh my gosh, something horrible just happened, where is a pony? Like, it's actually a really great approach.
Pony will help you.
You need a pony core.
Yeah.
Is what you need. You need a pony core And if
Yeah.
you advertised that there was a pony corps to support fans at conventions,
Like Pony Corps, Ponycore, or Pony
CORPS.
Yes, like
Yes.
soldiers.
Yes, reminds me
But you
of
can be
the,
hardcore.
And that would support, by the way, your military ponies.
Exactly. You know, this reminds me
The
of
pony
what-
corps.
I really like that idea, Shirley. I think we should try to put that into
Let's do it, because it just sounds fun too. Like,
Under that framework, what that reminds me of is the Dorsai, the real world version of the Dorsai regulars.
Okay.
That's true.
Who
But I
are-
thought they just do security.
Well, their primary thing is they provide comm security.
Okay, now who's the, what, I'm trying to think of the EMTs.
Operation Hammond.
Operation Hammond. Geeks helping geeks. So,
In general, the
okay, 1 minute,
another
thank you.
fandom I would look at for people that are specifically gathered around values more than stuff, and put a lot of effort into helping people is the brown coats.
Right, yeah, okay.
But they aren't that activist.
Now, I don't know if there's something else happening in this room afterwards, but
Yeah.
There's also the.
I
you
have-
guys have
Harry Potter
another
thing.
thing, and you guys may have
The
some
Harry
place
Potter
to go.
people.
So
You
if
know,
anybody wants to hang,
What the hell are they
you're
called?
welcome to.
This was really great.
Yeah.
This was a lot of good energy. Yeah.
Thank you for coming so much.
Thank you.
I hope we answered some questions.
Find us later if you have more questions.
Yes,
we
yo,
need
they're
to
next to it.
make this happen.
You really should, you really should.
It looks like
Everybody else in this room after this.
Yeah.
Half a concert? No, a concert. Performance workshop.